what's up, all you burner stones and potheads? This is Weedman420 with the Weedman420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there, Mrs. Weedman?
Mr. Weedman?
How the hell are you?
Fantastic.
I love it. Hey, all you vipers out there in the world, hopefully you're smoking some big fat doinks while you're listening to the show. But before we get started, Mrs. Weedman and I are going to be covering the latest cannabis research, science, health, political news, international news, and end it with some cannabis culture. Now we're going to get normal with some great pie grown by Jerry's Goodies that was given to us by our friend Midwest Terps at the Midwest Terp Off, Illinois versus Michigan. I'm super excited about smoking grape pie because I've never smoked it before. So grape pie is an indica-dominant hybrid strain created through crossing the delicious grape stomper, cherry pie strains. After one taste of the delicious pie, you'll totally want to take another bite again and again. This baby has a rich, full berry pie flavor with nutty exhale that's slightly spicy. The aromas of earthly herbs and fruity berries with a sweet, sugary, and spicy overtone that lingers long after the nugs are burned away. The grape pie high is just intoxicating as the flavor with the euphoric effects that will have you kicking back in no time at all. It starts in the head with the light tingly feeling and quickly expands through both mind and body, leaving you feeling totally euphoric and kick back before you know it. This won't leave you feeling too sedated or sleepy, rather than just completely at ease with the world around you. Sounds lovely. With these effects and its high THC percentage, grape pie is often chosen to treat those suffering from conditions such as chronic stress or anxiety, depression, insomnia, chronic pain, and mood swings. This bud has a small, round, dark olive green nugs with deep orange hairs and coating of tiny, frosty amber crystal trichomes. And that is grape pie grown by Jerry's Goodies. And we appreciate you throwing to the cause. And while I'm smoking on this grape pie, Miss Weedman is going to tell you about 8decades.com.
Yes, 8 Decades is our cannabis lifestyle brand that Mr. Weedman and I we put it together. We created that business. We designed the products, and we hope that you guys appreciate them. So check them out. There's rolling trays, storage jars, grinders, steamrollers, hemp clothing. There's swag for the Weedman420 show.
Yay.
And links to the podcast. So check us out. If you sign up for our newsletter, you get 20% off. And you do not get 20% off, but you do get free shipping on your first order. So check us out.
20% off, though. We do too.
Check us out at 8decades.com. That's EIGHT, decades.com.
And as we always say, if you support 8decades.com, we get to pay our producer. Also, if you're a dispensary out there or a head shop and you're looking to bring in some great products, reach out to Mrs. Weedman at 8decadesinfo@gmail.com, all one word, and then we can hook you up and throw you some free shout outs on the show. So, and everybody, this is the Weedman here with a quick word from our friends at Cannabis Campus. If you're looking to get into the cannabis industry or expand your operation in Illinois, check out Cannabis Campus, a massive 217,000 square foot facility built to support cannabis businesses from seed to sale with cultivation, infusion, extraction, beverages, transportation capabilities. Cannabis Campus is designed to help businesses grow. They also help navigate the complicated side of the industry, including facility planning, permits, regulations, and licensings. Want to learn more about or schedule a tour? Reach out to Cameron Kuhn at ckuhn100@yahoo.com. That's ckuhn100@yahoo.com. Or send us a DM and we'll connect you. Also, make sure you tell them that the Weedman420 Chronicles podcast sent you, and that is Cannabis Campus, a beautiful facility, monstrous facility. You need to go check it out, everybody. Mrs. Weedman.
Mr. Weedman.
Man, we had a crazy time before we started recording. Our whole system went down, and it was a crazy little hour and a half, 2 hours before we started recording. But I do want to say something before we get started. Happy fucking anniversary.
Aww. Fucking A.
Happy 31 fucking years we've been together. I've been married. And I want to say I love you. Happy 31. Looking forward to another 31 right behind it. And one more year, we did it. One more year. I'll smoke to that.
Keep smoking.
I'll smoke to that. So I love you, Mrs. Weedman.
Love you too.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Mm-hmm. All right. So let me ask you something. We don't camp. But we like to go hiking when we do, and we like to kayak, and we like to go and walking and do a bunch of stuff. But what happens if we went camping and you got out of the tent one morning and you were going to go walk to the lake, and all of a sudden, 1,000,000 mosquitoes
Ugh.
just started coming at you? What would you do?
Run back in the tent.
But what happened?
We saw recently a video of somebody who failed getting into his tent. He had a tent that had like a living room. So there were 2 separate sections, like with a screen door in between. And he went into that first section from the outdoors, and it looked like there were literally like 1,000,000 mosquitoes.
Insane.
The screen was just like a solid mass of mosquitoes.
And he had to go in that side to get his clothes.
Yeah,
and
he was stuck.
He was stuck. And he went in and he was covered.
Crazy.
So if you went,
could you imagine?
I'll tell you a story. I'm not. I mean, who likes skeeters? Nobody likes skeeters. Everyone, you fucking are a pain in the ass.
Jump in the water.
I would, yeah, and try to like
avoid them.
Get a
little straw.
little straw and breathe.
Just stay in the water.
But no one likes skeeters. But there is a reason why they're on this planet, but they're a pain in the ass, and they do like to suck some blood.
Mm-hmm.
But the scariest thing is though, if like imagine you get tagged by like 1,000,000 of them, like you're just running for your life, and they're just like their wings flap at like 600 miles per hour. It is summertime here in Illinois, so this is skeeter season. So they're out there, and there's males. You realize the males don't drink blood?
Just the females?
Just the females. The males drink flower nectar.
Oh.
Just the females.
Hmm.
And they suck the blood, and then they go feed their
babies.
Feed their babies that are usually in a pond or a puddle, or could be just a little flash of water.
Happy to contribute.
Yeah, right.
Here, have an arm.
It's fucking crazy though. I mean, it's like there was this family in Russia I was reading too, and there were a bunch of travelers, and they were at this lake in this region, and all of a sudden they were like smelling the fresh air and looking at the peaceful day by the water. But then this fucking straight out horror movie came, and there was like a massive swarm. They couldn't even say how many. It was just like all of a sudden they were like running for their lives, covered.
That's nuts.
And trying to get back to the car, and trying to get the window shut. And these mosquitoes just came, and it was like, this is happening a lot lately though.
Yeah.
Skeeters, man.
I mean, we had a couple
dry.
of hikes when we went up to like the dunes and the state parks in Indiana and Michigan. And there was a time that we went late summer hiking, and it was hot and humid out. And remember, we got into that loop, and there was like a retention pond, like a natural retention pond in the middle, and there were plants growing all over it. But it was just like a mosquito haven, and you could literally we were sprayed, and you could still hear them like buzzing all around you. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah,
oh my God,
remember that.
You could just see. Oh, whoa, that was
Skeeters
rough.
are scary.
Yeah,
they fucking suck your blood.
They're pretty
females.
intense these days.
The females are just nasty.
Yeah,
nasty. Just us males, they just fly around and just eat some nectar and do their thing with the female, and then they just go chew some more nectar, and they live and die. They're good for 2 things.
The ladies are vicious.
Vicious.
They got to feed their babies.
Fuckers, man. They're
ladies are serious about feeding their babies. Maybe it'll make you feel a little better next time you get bit.
No. Remember that one commercial back in the day? The guy was sitting there eating pizza and putting Tabasco on his pizza outside. You don't remember this commercial? He was putting Tabasco on his pizza commercial. Mm-hmm. And he's eating his pizza, and a mosquito would land on it, bite him, fly away, and it would blow up, and he would just laugh.
Because the hot sauce.
Yeah, because they would explode. Oh,
that's me kicking things.
Sorry about that, everybody. That's our little table up there with some stuff. Miss Weedman just going crazy over there. So great pie. Pretty good.
Yeah, I'm
pretty good.
Baked.
Yep. Ready to get the show started?
Yeah.
All right, It's time to get into some cannabis science, and this one is pretty interesting because it challenges something a lot of people have heard of for years, that cannabis is simply an anti-inflammatory plant. A new massive scientific review at how cannabis like THC and CBD interact with the body's immune system and found something pretty interesting. Cannabis doesn't appear to work like a simple on or off inflammation switch. Instead, researchers found cannabinoids may influence pro-inflammatory and anti-inflammatory responses depending on the person and cannabinoid involved, dosage, and the situation. The review analyzed data from 46 studies involving more than 54,000 participants. Researchers looked at different inflammatory biomarkers, basically biological signals in the body that show how the immune system is reacting. What they found was that the regular cannabinoid use was linked with increase in both markers that promote inflammation and markers that help regulate or reduce inflammation. So, what does that mean? Well, it means the old saying, cannabis reduces inflammation, might be a little too simple. The
Hmm.
human body is more complicated than that. The endocannabinoid system, the system that in our bodies that interacts with the cannabinoids, helps regulate balance in things like immune response, pain, mood, and stress. Cannabis appears to influence that system, but the results can vary from person to person. And this is where things get interesting for medical cannabis patients. Someone dealing with conditions involving inflammation may experience benefits from cannabinoids, while another person might have a completely different response. Researchers say the effects may depend on factors like whether someone is healthy or dealing with a medical condition, what cannabinoids they're using, how much they're taking, and how recent they used it. The researchers also pointed out there's a lot of early studies showing anti-inflammatory effects came from laboratory and animal research. Those studies helped scientists understand the potential of cannabinoids, but translating those results into real-world human experience is more complicated. One interesting finding from the review was that synthetic cannabinoids appeared to have stronger inflammatory effects compared to natural cannabis products. Duh. The researchers also noted that recent cannabis use showed stronger associations with inflammatory markers compared to with past use. Now, before anybody jumps to conclusions, this study does not mean cannabis causes inflammation or that cannabis doesn't have medical value. The researchers emphasized that most of the available human studies are observational, meaning they can show connections but cannot prove that cannabis itself is directly causing these changes. Other factors like lifestyle, tobacco use, alcohol use, medications, or underlying health conditions can also influence inflammation. The big takeaways here is that cannabis science continues to move away from the simple labels. It's not just weed is good or weed is bad. The more scientists learn, the more they're discovering that cannabinoids interact with the human body in a very complex ways. And honestly, that makes sense when you think about cannabis. The plant has hundreds of compounds, dozens of cannabinoids, the countless different combinations of genetics, consumption methods, and individual body chemistry. So the future of cannabis medicine may not be about finding one magic cannabinoid that works for everybody. It may be about personalized cannabis. We've talked about that before, haven't we, Mrs. Weedman? Finding the right cannabinoid profile, the right dose, and the right application for each person. Basically, the plant keeps on reminding us there's a lot more going on than just getting lifted. The science behind the leaf is getting deeper every year. And today, there was another article that came out about cannabis and inflammation. And so I'll read into that and see, and maybe talk about that on the next episode and see what they say about
Yeah.
cannabis and inflammation too. So the more we know, the more we
The
grow,
more
and the more we learn, right?
Yep.
So tell us, this is a big one. Tell us
Yes.
how cannabis affects female hormones, what women should know.
Yeah. We mentioned this, or I mentioned this quite a bit. You give me these topics to discuss appropriately.
Well, I
And
can't discuss them.
right. And menopause comes up a lot when we talk about hormones in women. And who was it? Bill Gates' ex-wife,
Yes.
Melinda, just donated like 212 million?
Wow.
Billion?
Million.
Million.
Yeah, million.
Yeah.
Not billion.
Not billion. $1 million to menopause research. So I think we're going to be hearing more and more about this. But cannabis and hormones. All right. This is a really interesting topic because it's something we don't always hear talked about when it comes to cannabis, how the plant interacts with female hormones. A lot of cannabis conversations focus on pain relief, anxiety, sleep, and just the overall effects of CBD and THC. But researchers have been looking more closely at how cannabinoids interact with the female body, especially the reproductive system and hormone regulation. The reason this connection exists is because the human body has something called the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. This system helps regulate things like mood, appetite, stress response, and reproductive functions. Cannabinoid receptors are found throughout the body. Everybody has them, including areas connected to female reproductive health. Research suggests that THC may influence hormones involved in the menstrual cycle, including estrogen, progesterone, and hormones that help regulate ovulation. Ovulation. Some studies have found possible changes in cycle timing and ovulation patterns, but researchers also point out that there are still a lot of unanswered questions because human studies are limited. And this is where the conversation gets interesting because cannabis isn't just a simple good or bad answer. The effects may depend on things like dosage, frequency of use, individual biology, and where someone is in their life stage. For example, researchers have looked at cannabis use during different periods of a woman's life, including fertility years, pregnancy, breastfeeding, and menopause. The science is still developing, but pregnancy and breastfeeding remain areas where researchers recommend caution because more evidence is needed about potential risks. There's also growing interest in how cannabis might affect menopause symptoms. Many women have reported using cannabis for things like sleep issues, mood changes, discomfort, and hot flashes. But scientists are still working to separate personal experiences from what can be proven through clinical research. Basically, the plant is interacting with a system that was already there, the body's endocannabinoid network. The big question researchers are trying to answer is how can we better understand what relationship or that relationship and figure out where cannabis can help, where it may have risks, and how those effects change from person to person. So, ladies, your body chemistry is already complicated enough. Add a plant with hundreds of compounds into the mix, and researchers have plenty of homework ahead of them. The good news, though, is that we're finally seeing more studies focus specifically on women instead of treating everyone's biology like it's exactly the same. More research means better information, and that's always a win for consumers trying to make educated decisions about cannabis use.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
How does cannabis help you?
Um, I, we tend to smoke a lot of strains that are, given to us so that we can talk about them on the show. And then we have our particular strains that we'll pick up, and we usually just get something that we share. So I will say that I don't, I probably could do a lot better to manage my symptoms with cannabis if I was more strain specific on what I consumed.
Right.
So with that said, I still find it helps me a lot with anxiety, with mood, just general mood. It helps with stress relief. It helps with anxiety. It helps with sleep. Does it take my pain away? No. But does it help me just calm? Yes. So there's so many advantages. And then
Right.
there's just socially, it's nice. I can't say that I necessarily get the fun and the sillies anymore, but that can be kind of situation and strain,
Right.
specific. So, um, there's just so many ways that it helps.
That's good.
Yeah.
We get the silly sometimes.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes
Yeah.
we get into the good laughs,
Mhm.
So, all right. The next cannabis science story is one that sounds backwards at first. We all know cannabis has a reputation for things when it comes to food. The munchies. You smoke, you smell some pizza, the pizza becomes the most important scientific discovery in human history. But researchers have been studying a strange cannabis mystery for years. While THC can increase appetites, studies have also found that many regular cannabis consumers tend to have lower body weight and different metabolic prolifits compared to non-consumers. Now, scientists are looking deeper into the cannabis plant to understand if certain compounds could someday help create new weight loss medications. Researchers are focusing on the fact that cannabis is much more than just THC. The plant contains hundreds of compounds, and scientists are trying to figure out which specific molecules may influence metabolism, insulin signaling, and how the body stores and uses energy. A recent preclinical study from research at the University of California, Riverside, explored this cannabis metabolism paradox. Scientists compared the effects of THC alone versus a whole plant cannabis extract containing THC along with other naturally occurring compounds. The researchers found that while both approaches are associated with weight loss in animal models, the metabolic effects were different. The whole plant extract showed improvements in areas related to glucose regulation and metabolic health, suggesting the other cannabis compounds, not just THC, may be playing an important role. And this is where cannabis science gets really interesting. For years, researchers have shown that the endocannabinoid system plays a major role in regulating things like appetite, metabolism, energy balance, and how the body responds to food. The system includes cannabinoid receptors that interact with compounds found naturally in our bodies and in the cannabis plant. The goal isn't necessarily to create a smoke, weed, and lose weight medication. Scientists are actually looking for ways to identify individual cannabis compounds that could provide metabolic benefits without the intoxicating effects of THC. Think about it like this: cannabis is like a giant toolbox. THC is one tool, but there are hundreds of other tools inside that box. Researchers are trying to figure out which tools actually do what and how they can potentially be used in medicine. Now, before everyone starts replacing their gym membership with a bong and a bag of chips, researchers are very clear that more work needs to be done. These findings are still early, and studies in animals don't automatically mean the same result will happen in humans. Cannabis has also had the funny contradiction: it can make you hungry, but scientists are studying how some of the compounds may actually influence metabolism. It's another reminder that when it comes to this plant, there's a lot more happening than just THC getting people lifted. But this research does add a growing area of cannabis science showing that the plant's chemistry is much more complex than the old stereotypes. The future could involve cannabis-inspired medicines that target specific pathways involved in weight management, diabetes, and metabolic health without necessarily producing the traditional cannabis high. So once again, the plant keeps on surprising researchers. The same flower people joke about causing midnight snack attacks might also hold clues for future medical breakthroughs. Pretty wild when you think about it. Maybe the munchies were just the first chapter of the story, Mrs. Weedman.
Mm-hmm.
Is it your chapter? How many chapters you're on with munchies? So tell us a little about marijuana extracts meaningfully improve cancer patient symptoms such as sleep trouble, anxiety, and what this study shows. Tell us about it,
Yeah.
Mrs. Weedman.
This is one story that really highlights why medical cannabis research matters. We've talked for years about patients using cannabis to help manage symptoms, but now we're seeing more controlled studies looking at exactly where it may provide relief. A new study found that cannabis extracts may provide meaningful improvements for some cancer patients, especially when it comes to issues like sleep problems, anxiety, and daytime tiredness. The research involved cancer patients who were given different cannabis extracts, including THC dominant, CBD dominant, and balanced THC to CBD formulas, along with a placebo. The goal wasn't to claim cannabis cures cancer. This study focused on something just as important: helping patients manage some of the challenges that come with a cancer diagnosis and treatment. And the results were pretty interesting. About half of the participants experienced a meaningful improvement with at least one cannabis extract compared to the placebo. The biggest improvements were seen in areas like sleep, anxiety, and fatigue. One of the coolest parts of this study was that researchers found there wasn't one magic cannabis formula that worked best for everyone. Some people responded better to THC, some to CBD, and others to the balanced combination. Like we always say, cannabis is not a one size fits all plant. Your endocannabinoid system is unique, and what works for one person might not work the same for another. The researchers found that individual preferences mattered, with different patients responding differently to different cannabinoid combinations. The study also looked at dosing, and researchers found that a low starting dose of around 2.5 milligrams of THC and CBD 3 times a day was generally well tolerated by patients. Side effects were mostly mild, although THC related effects were more pronounced in some patients. This doesn't mean cannabis replaces cancer treatments, and it doesn't prove cannabis is a cancer cure. What it does show is that cannabis extracts may have a role in helping improve quality of life for some people dealing with cancer related symptoms. And honestly, that's a big deal. When someone is going through something as serious as cancer, Getting better sleep, reducing anxiety, and improving daily comfort can make a huge difference. For decades, patients have been sharing their experiences with cannabis, and now science is finally catching up and asking the right questions. Instead of just dismissing the plant or making assumptions, researchers are looking at specific cannabinoids, specific symptoms, and specific patient responses. The more answers we get, the better doctors and patients can understand how to use cannabis responsibly and effectively. Because at the end of the day, cannabis isn't just about getting lifted. For many people, it's about getting through the day a little easier.
Yeah, and get him lifted.
Yeah. Carry me through.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything we've just talked about in these 4 articles, this
Mhm.
research, science, and health, all has to play into the endocannabinoid system. It all has to play into not just THC, as we're finding out, like we've been talking
Yeah.
about for 7 years. It's
Mhm.
not all about THC. I've always said, give me all the
All
cannabinoids.
of it. Yep.
Give me, this is the thing, and this is my opinion. Okay.
Mhm.
I've been smoking weed for a very long time.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm 53. I've been smoking weed since I was 13. Not every day when I was 13, but started smoking when I was 13. And everyone talks about that weed today is not what it was 20 years ago, 30, 40, 50 years ago. It's not your dad's Cadillac anymore kind of thing. Here's the thing. Back in, say, the 90s, when I was smoking more, uh, and weed might have had like 5 to 8% THC percentage in there, but the other cannabinoids weren't grown out.
Mhm.
So we might have not known all the other cannabinoids, but there could have been high percentages of CBD in some
Yeah.
of this, and high percentages of CBG and CBC and THCV and all the other fun cannabinoids that make you feel floaty or make you feel uh so relaxed, and so just couch locked, and where you're sitting on the couch and you can't move and you're sitting there with your buddies, and all of a sudden somebody says something funny and you're laughing your ass off for an hour, but
Mhm.
you don't even know what you're laughing about. It's that funny.
Mhm.
I think we've grown this plant. We've taught everybody that it's just about THC, that and today they're growing it all for THC, but now you see some of the old school guys going, we're going back to what we know, and that's growing the plant, and we want everything in it
Mhm.
because that's where we know that THC, we've always said, is for the mind, for the upper body. Yeah, it makes you feel loose, but not all the time. There could be CBD in there and some of those strains that we smoked where we were just like noodles. Your whole body's like, you can't feel anything, kind of thing, right? So this is just like I said, my opinion when it comes to how long I've been smoking, and watching people from the '60s talk about the weed today, going, I like the weed better in the '60s. Yeah, it was drier and it wasn't, but it made me feel a lot better. Not just so mentally high, not just
Mhm.
so from the head up, you know. I want from the head down to my toes. you know. Don't get me wrong, I love me some THC, but I want, like I've been saying for years, I want it all. I want the whole plant because there's so much goodness in it. And that's what we need as a medicine. For considering this as a medicine, then we have to understand the whole plant. We have to
Mhm.
understand every cannabinoid that's in there and what it does, and test for. Maybe there's 5 or 6 more other cannabinoids in that plant that we're missing out on that might have a 3 or 4 or 5 or 6% range, and everyone talks about, we've talked about terpenes so many times, and I hear now everyone's is saying, "Oh, test at 36%, but it's 3% terpenes in there." Okay, I'm excited.
Yeah.
No, I
Mhm.
want like
You want more.
14% THC, and I want terpenes to be this, and I want
Higher.
CBG to be higher, and I want to feel the whole plant. I want people to start understanding this whole plant. And I want people to start understanding all the cannabinoids that are in that plant, because you're missing out on what you need for your body. This is what these last 4 articles were all about.
Mm,
Endocannabinoid system, different cannabinoids,
mm.
inflammation,
And it yeah,
cancer.
and what you're getting at is that ultimately not everybody wants to smoke, right? and people want the benefits.
Mhm.
And so some people vape and some people choose edibles. And those two categories, you really need to educate yourself on full spectrum products. So if you're
Mhm.
getting your rosin and your liquid hash, like you get your concentrates that are pure and clean and produced well. That's going to give you full spectrum. Obviously, you're still smoking if you vape, but some people feel better about vaping than they do combustion. So if you're going to do that, if you're going to vape, get the good products. Don't just get your distillate vape standard run of the mill. It's all it is stripped down THC. You're not getting full spectrum benefits. You're not getting the whole plant. And the same goes for gummies. Not most, a lot of your gummies are going to be just THC.
Mhm.
They're made from the same distillate that the vapes are made from. And you really want to look for rosin
Full spectrum
and full
gummies,
spectrum gummies,
ratios.
ratios. Yeah. So just get to learn your products, because if you're using them medically, which many people are, and you're just using distillate products, you're not getting you'd be better off going to a health food store and buying CBD, quite honestly. And
True.
buying a good health, like a good CBD product that has minimal THC. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I do. I think it's
So
good
if
stuff.
you're going to go to dispensaries and you're going to buy vapes and you're going to buy, um, what's the other thing? I was just
Edibles.
gummies, edibles. Just look for full spectrum products. Look for your hash, your rosin, your
It
what
has the whole
else?
plant in
Yeah,
there.
whole plant. Yeah,
Yeah, full spectrum.
ratios. Yep.
That's what you want. We're looking
I
for the
think we're rambling
ratios.
a little bit.
1 to 1 to 1. Yeah, we are.
We
So we'll go to
We're
political,
stoned.
state, and business news. The CBD isolate market is projected to explode, with estimates showing massive growth over the next decade. Regulations being clearer and manufacturing improved. Just so you know, isolate is stripped down, just CBD. So there's no other cannabinoids in there. So companies are focusing on standardized products and new formulations. Sound like CBD is getting corporate makeover. Louisiana's push for an adult use cannabis pilot program hit a roadblock after the governor signed a bill moving the bill state toward recriminalizing certain cannabis activities and said, "This weed got me stony baloney."
Hmm.
Stony baloney. Another state debate continues over cannabis policy. Trying to keep track of cannabis laws is like organizing your purse. Just when you think you have it figured out, everything changes. Washington's cannabis market is facing challenges from oversupply. Changing federal policies increase competition after years of growth, business, and feeling pressure to adapt in crowded marketplace. Idaho lawmakers approved ballot language to measure that would make it harder for voters to legalize marijuana through future ballot initiatives. Supporters say it protects the legislative process, while opponents argue voters should have the final say. New legalization in North Carolina could put cannabis policy directly in the hands of voters. Supporters say voters should have a voice in deciding the state's future cannabis laws. Federal marijuana prosecutions reached another record low as more states continue creating their own cannabis programs. The shift shows how enforcement priorities have changed over time. The world is changing, folks. Even the government's finally updating its playlist instead of playing the same old song. A court ruling may give some cannabis companies a pathway toward bankruptcy relief, and federal cannabis policy continues evolving. The industry has long faced unique financial challenges because of federal restrictions. Running a business is stressful enough. Nobody needs their finances doing a cannabis cartwheel, too. Michigan officials say it's too early to judge the impact of the state's new marijuana tax. Regulators are watching how businesses and consumers respond before making conclusions. Taxes are like laundry, Mrs. Weedman. Nobody gets excited about them, but eventually you have to deal with the pile. Which I'm going to deal with it on Friday. California cannabis regulators introduced a new AI tool designed to help prevent product packaging that could appeal to children. Officials say technology can help companies stay compliant. Finally, AI is being used for something besides making weird vacation photos of us, Mrs. Weedman. Several legal cannabis states are considering increasing possession limits, allowing consumers to carry more cannabis without facing criminal penalties. Supporters say laws should better match the legal markets. A Kentucky lawmaker wants officials investigated over following the governor's medical marijuana expansion order, creating another debate over cannabis policies in the state. Medical access continues to be a major discussion. Healthcare decisions are serious business, but apparently cannabis debates still bring more drama than reality TV. Now, Mrs. Weedman, I'm passing the joint over to you.
Yes, we've got a new congressional bill moving along, and it would prevent federal employees from getting medical marijuana covered under workers' compensation programs. The debate highlights the challenges federal workers face while cannabis laws continue changing nationwide. An anti marijuana campaign in Maine and Massachusetts is facing accusations of using misleading and fraudulent tactics while collecting signatures for ballot efforts. The disputes show how heated cannabis policy battles can become. Ladies know a bad sale pitch when we hear one, especially when someone's trying to sneak something past us. Rhode Island lawmakers are moving forward with legislation that would remove residency requirements for cannabis license applicants. Supporters say opening applications could bring more investment and opportunity to the state's industry. Several hemp beverage companies are suing to block Ohio's new hemp regulations, arguing the rules could hurt businesses and limit consumer access. The case adds another chapter to the ongoing hemp versus regulation debate. Nothing says party drama like lawmakers and beverage companies fighting over who gets the last sip. Chicago aldermen are discussing possible penalties connected to marijuana activity near schools and parks. City officials are weighing how to balance legal cannabis access with community concerns. Sorry, but the aldermen, they really have much bigger safety issues to address, like daily shootings and violent crime all around the city.
Oh, yeah.
Let the weed be. As cannabis rescheduling moves forward, employers are watching closely because changes could impact workplace policies, testing, and employee protections. Businesses are preparing for possible shifts in federal cannabis rules. New documents from the VA outline rules around discussions between veterans and government doctors regarding medical cannabis. The issue continues to spark conversation about patient access and healthcare options. Veterans deserve honest conversations, not a guessing game. Groups opposing cannabis rescheduling are asking for a pause in the move towards Schedule 3, arguing that the process needs further review. The legal battle continues as federal cannabis policy remains in transition. Virginia lawmakers and their governor have reached an agreement on legislation that could allow marijuana sales to begin in the state. The proposal represents another major step in Virginia's cannabis market developments. Tribal cannabis businesses continue expanding as more indigenous communities enter the legal cannabis marketplace. These operations continue creating economic opportunities while navigating unique regulatory challenges. And that is it, Mr. Weedman. It's over to you.
Thank you. Kentucky's governor is criticizing a Republican lawmaker's push to prosecute officials involved with expanding medical marijuana access. The debate highlights the ongoing fight between political views and patient access. Nothing says healthcare debate like politicians arguing while patients are waiting for solutions. Somebody passed the paperwork, not just the opinions. Illinois cannabis regulators revised application form to improve accessibility standards and make the process easier for applicants. The update aims to create a more user-friendly system for businesses and consumers. Government paperwork getting easier? Somebody check the temperature outside. We might be witnessing history. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker signed a cannabis omnibus bill making changes to the state's cannabis program. The legislation addresses several industry issues and updates regulations as the market continues growing. We talked about that a couple episodes that they passed it, but he signed it into law. What already started here in Illinois was all your amounts doubled. That, man, I seen dispensaries promoting that this week like crazy. As soon as that bill got signed today, I was like, holy shit, people posted it on LinkedIn, on their website. I mean, it was like, double your limits, double out of state, double your limits. Man, people are going, woohoo, woohoo, woohoo. Doing the finger dance. Yeah, got more weed. Alabama's medical marijuana program saw more than 100 patients purchase products during the first week of legal sales. The launch marks a major step for patients seeking access. The first customers always get remembered, just like the first person brave enough to try a mystery edible. Authorities in upstate New York caught smugglers attempting to disguise roughly 1,600 pounds of marijuana in chocolate during a border investigation. Apparently, the plan was to make cannabis look like candy. That one way we get to get caught when your chocolate shipment smells a little too herbal. New Hampshire's governor vetoed a bill and would have allowed medical cannabis cultivation in greenhouses. Supporters argued it could expand production, while opponents raised concerns. Boo. Colorado officials continue addressing illegal activity connected to parts of the marijuana industry, including unlicensed operations. Regulators say enforcement remains necessary as the legal market matures. A federal science agency added new cannabis compounds to its chemical fingerprint library, helping researchers better identify the study cannabinoids. More scientific data could improve future cannabis research. The more scientific find, the more we realize this plant has more surprise than a bag of seeds. A California Republican senator suggested putting marijuana legalization back on the ballot, arguing voters should reconsider the state's cannabis laws. The proposal reignites debate over California's massive legal market. California legalized it, regulated it, and now they're debating it again. Welcome to cannabis politics, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, medical was voted in 1996. It's been 30 years in California that they've been doing cannabis on a legal aspect with medical and then recreational. And now you got this doofus just being a doofus. Like, really, bro? There's so much other things that to worry about in California right now. Wildfires, especially, fixing that shit, getting, all just homelessness and there's so much. And you're worried about people enjoying their weed. Bro, get a life. Researchers in the Mountain West are studying why more seniors are turning to cannabis. Scientists want to better understand usage patterns, benefits, and concerns among older adults. Grandma's not asking for the bingo night anymore. She's asking about cannabinoids and dosage. As cannabis rescheduling discussions continue, banking remains a major challenge for businesses. Experts warn that moving cannabis policy forward does not automatically solve financial issues. Changing the schedule is one thing. Getting banks comfortable is another boss battle entirely. Coalition has formed around concerns involving wages and working conditions in the cannabis industry. As the market matures, employees' issues are becoming a bigger conversation. Cannabis businesses are growing up, and now everyone's asking, who's taking care of the people growing the plants? Exactly. The Massachusetts Supreme Court Judicial Court rejected a challenge to a ballot initiative that could roll back the state's adult-use marijuana market. The decision means voters may decide the future of recreational cannabis sales this November. Cannabis legalization took years to build. Now voters have to decide if they're keeping the garden or pulling the weeds. I mean, so everybody in Massachusetts, there's other states trying to do this too, but it is officially on the ballot in November. Everybody that you need to go to that ballot and vote no rollback or however they make sure you read the wording right. Make sure like it wasn't during like when the vote when Bush 2 it was in Florida. It was actually in West Palm Beach when they had the voter ballot. It was Bush. Who'd he go against? The guy that created the internet. He was Clinton's VP. Oh, what was his name? He said, everyone makes fun of him. He said he created the internet. It was him and then Buchanan. And they put Buchanan like in the middle or something like that. And everybody was picking Buchanan or like thought it was Bush, and it was like all screwed up on the ballot. So make sure you read your ballots right. And I'm sorry, I can't remember who Bush ran against. I apologize. I'm a goof. So, but anyway, make sure you read the ballot right and you hit the right one, and don't, whatever they say, make sure Massachusetts, you keep your weed legal, recreational. Oh my goodness. Crazy. Here's another crazy thing. When cannabis companies fight, who pays the price, Mrs. Weedman?
We do.
We do.
The consumer.
The consumer.
Yes.
So while you're looking that up, I'm going to find out who Clinton's VP is because I feel stupid that, I have to look that up.
You're looking that up while I read.
Yes.
This is one of those industry conversations that's probably overdue. We've spent decades watching cannabis fight for legitimacy, fighting prohibition, fighting stigmas, fighting for medical access. But now that the industry is becoming more established, there's a new battle happening inside the industry itself. The article takes a look at how cannabis companies are spending more time fighting each other through lawsuits. public disputes, and business battles instead of focusing on the bigger picture, building trust, improving access, and helping patients. Hello. Now, competition itself isn't the problem. Competition is actually healthy. It can push companies to create better products, improve customer service, and find better ways to serve consumers. But there's a big difference between competing over who makes the best medicine or who provides the best experience versus tearing each other down and making the entire industry look less professional. And that's where the concern comes in. Cannabis is still under a microscope. Regulators, lawmakers, doctors, and the public are still watching closely to see if this industry can operate responsibly. When companies are constantly battling publicly, it gives critics another reason to say, see, maybe cannabis isn't ready. Meanwhile, there are real patients out there who aren't worried about corporate drama. They're worried about finding affordable access, finding doctors who understand cannabinoid medicine, and figuring out if cannabis can help them manage things like chronic pain, cancer treatment side effects, neurological conditions, and other serious health issues. And that's really the heart of this discussion. The cannabis industry was built because patients, caregivers, advocates, and consumers pushed this plant forward. It wasn't built because a bunch of companies wanted to make another market to fight over. The foundation came from people saying, hey, this plant helps people. Maybe we should actually make it available. Woo! And study it.
Yeah.
Woo! The article argues that the industry's next stage shouldn't be about building trust. It should be about building trust. Regulators need to trust businesses are acting responsibly. Healthcare professionals need to trust the science behind cannabis. And most importantly, patients need to trust that companies are focused on improving care, not chasing profits. And let's be real, there's plenty of room for everybody in this giant cannabis garden. The plant has created opportunities for growers, processors, retailers, researchers, educators, entrepreneurs. There's no reason that everyone has to fight over the same patch of dirt. The companies that are going to stand out moving forward probably won't be the ones making the loudest arguments online. They'll be the ones doing the work, improving products, educating consumers, supporting patients, and proving cannabis belongs in the conversation about healthcare and wellness. Because after everything the cannabis community has fought through, it would be a shame to finally get a seat at the table and then spend all of our time arguing over who gets to sit where. The future of cannabis needs to be built on collaboration, professionalism, and remembering why this movement started in the first place. It began as a need for medicine and to change the way the world sees the plant.
There we go. How
Keep
the
it simple.
world sees the plant.
That's right.
Amazing. Amazing. Want to light that joint up?
Yeah, I do.
Bill Clinton's VP, Al Gore. Al Gore.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe I
They
forgot
say
that.
Al Gore created the internet?
It was a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big one.
Because when he was running for president or something, it was a joke. So anyway, but he was a good VP. He fought a lot hard for the environment.
Yeah, global warming.
Yeah, global warming. Thank you. So that was crazy. I remember my old man was because it happened in West Palm Beach, or because the voting ballot was all screwed up with the 3 in there. And I remember my dad was on the street corners in West Palm, like holding up signs.
He was?
Yeah. Gore got robbed or something. He put on there or something like that.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh, yeah, he was out there. He was out there protesting. There was a lot of people out there too. It was crazy because that district, they swore that because they had the way the ballot was measured, a lot of people picked Buchanan. That it was like nobody was going to pick Buchanan for president.
Probably alphabetical. It should have been alphabetical, and it wasn't.
I don't remember. It was just something. The names were so
But
close.
something made people, vote for the wrong person.
Yes.
Wow.
I'm sure there's some people our age out there that probably remember that, especially you Florida folks.
Mhm.
But I remember my old man out there.
with the sign.
Comes home, like, what the I got home from work. I'm like, what are you doing? What were you doing today? He's like, oh, I was out there protesting. I think I was on the news. I was holding up signs. Gore got robbed. I was like,
Yeah,
it's like, all right, pops,
funny.
whatever. You do you. So, international news. Australia is reviewing medicinal cannabis driving laws as lawmakers debate how to balance patient access with road safety. Current rules create challenges for some legal cannabis patients who may still face penalties. It's a tough conversation. Nobody wants unsafe drivers, but patients shouldn't feel like criminals for following medical advice. A new cannabis based painkillers making headlines as researchers explore alternatives for managing chronic pain. The medication represents years of work studying cannabinoids and their potential medical benefits. The plant keeps surprising people. Every time someone says, we know everything, cannabis says, hold my flower. As Australian travelers an Australian traveler was arrested in Indonesia after authorities found medicinal cannabis liquid in her possession. Despite medical cannabis being legal in some countries, international travel remains complicated because cannabis laws vary dramatically. The passport says vacation, but the laws say welcome to Cannabis Rulebook Olympics. A Spanish political figure rejected recreational cannabis legalization, arguing cannabis should remain limited to medical purposes. The debate continues as countries worldwide weigh public health regulations and personal freedom. Officials in Belize continue reflecting on local marijuana referendum and what cannabis policy could mean for communities. The discussion highlights how smaller smaller regions are navigating legalization questions. Cannabis decisions are reaching every corner of the globe. Even paradise has paperwork. Actor Zac Efron is making headlines after reports about building a home in Australia, sparking attention from fans and media. While not directly a cannabis story, Australia continues seeing increased interest in lifestyle wellness and changing cultural environments. And he's building this home out of hempcrete.
Cool.
Yep. Yep.
We need more of
A
that.
Toronto cannabis retailer received a red level penalty from regulators highlighting the strict compliance rules businesses must follow in Canada's legal market. Operators continue adjusting to regulators years after legalization. Ukraine has distributed its first legal medical cannabis products to military veterans and patients with multiple sclerosis. The move represents a major step in the country's develops its medical cannabis program. After everything veterans have faced, access to new medical options is a powerful step forward. France is seeing a concern over adulterated cannabis products as changes to CBD regulations shake the market. Officials warn consumers about unsafe products entering the supply chain. When regulation gets confusing, bad actors try sneaking through. That's why testing matters. New Zealand is changing hemp regulations after 2 decades, removing licensing requirements and setting a THC limit to 1%. The move could simplify hemp production while maintaining standards. Hemp finally got a rule update. Sometimes government moves slower than a plant growing in the shade. And that is international news, everybody.
I know.
Mrs. Weedman,
Yes.
tell us about cannabis' undeniable LGBTQ plus connections that run deep. And we've talked about some of these folks that are going to be mentioned here and what they did for cannabis. Tell us about it, Ms.
Yep.
Weedman.
Yep, this story is a really important piece of cannabis history because when people talk about legalization, they usually mention politicians, states that changed laws, or big companies entering the market. But there's another group that played a massive role in getting cannabis where it is today: the LGBTQ plus community. The connection between cannabis and LGBTQ plus activism goes back decades, especially during the AIDS crisis of the 1980s and 90s, at a time when many patients were dealing with serious illnesses, stigma, and a lack of support. Members of the LGBTQ plus community stepped up to fight for access to cannabis as medicine. One of the names that comes up again and again is Dennis Peron. Peron became one of the early champions of medical cannabis after seeing how cannabis helped people suffering during the AIDS epidemic. His activism helped build momentum that eventually led to California Proposition 215, the first state law in the United States allowing medical cannabis use with a physician's recommendation. And then there's the other legendary figure. Come on, everybody knows, cannabis fans, you know, Mary Jane Rathbun, better known as Brownie Mary.
Yeah.
She became famous for making cannabis-infused brownies and providing them to people suffering from AIDS and other illnesses when many patients had nowhere else to turn. This was a time when cannabis wasn't a trendy wellness product sitting on dispensary shelves. There were no fancy packages, no terpene charts, no limited edition drops. It was people helping people because they saw a need and they refused to ignore it. A lot of the early cannabis movements came from communities that were already fighting against unfair laws and social stigmas. The LGBTQ plus community understood what it meant to be pushed aside, and that experience helped fuel a movement focused on compassion, medical freedom, and personal choice. The story also highlights places like San Francisco's Castro District, where cannabis became intertwined with activism, community organizing, and the fight for medical access. These communities weren't just consumers of cannabis. They were some of the people putting their freedom and safety on the line to prove this plant had value. And that's something worth remembering as cannabis continues moving into the mainstream. Today, we have massive companies, legalization campaigns, investors, and billion-dollar markets. But before there was a legal industry, there were patients, caregivers, activists, and communities doing the work while cannabis could still get them arrested. The history of cannabis isn't just about the plant, it's about the people who fought for the right to use it, study it, and share it. And honestly, that is one of the coolest things about cannabis history. When you dig into it, you find that a lot of progress didn't come from boardrooms. It came from regular people standing up and saying, "This helps people, and we're not going to let fear stop us from sharing it." So, whether someone uses cannabis for medicine, relaxation, creativity, or simply enjoys being part of the culture, it's worth knowing the roots of the movement. Many of the freedoms cannabis consumers have today were made possible by people who were willing to fight for them when the odds were stacked against them. This is a great reminder that cannabis history is community history, and there are a lot of people who deserve recognition for helping bring this plant out of the shadows.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, happy LGBTQ plus month,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Pride
Pride
month.
Month.
Yep.
Yep.
We went to our little town here, had a
Yeah.
great pride
A
parade.
super sweet parade.
That was awesome. Yeah.
And a
Yeah.
little festival kind of gathering
Yeah.
in the town square.
Yeah,
It
it
was
was
cute.
great.
Yeah.
Proud of you, Woodstock, Illinois. It was fun.
was pretty neat.
Yeah, it was great. Yuki had a good time too. She got a lot of treats.
Everybody loved it. Can I pet your dog?
Yeah. So, Mrs. Weedman,
Mr. Weedman.
that's the end of the show.
Yeah.
Got anything else to say before we go?
Well, everybody have a fantastic week. Thank
I
you,
like
Mr.
it.
Weedman.
Nice and quick.
That's short and sweet, you know? I'm
love
full of words. I'm full of words.
Hey, everybody out there, we love you. Thank you for listening. We appreciate you around the world. As Paulie always says, smoke smart, puff, puff, and away.
Puff, puff, pass.
Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a 9th decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable.